Hello and welcome to Michael and Ivanka's Grand Podcast. We talk about our thoughts every week, and we're just iteratively expanding our self-awareness and understanding of the world, and understanding, cementing our own opinions so that when we're in real life, we can, we just have them off pat. We know what we want. We know what we are. We know who we are. My name's Michael Forrest, for example.
And I'm Ivanka Magic. It's true, that's exactly what we've been doing for the last 75 years of recording this podcast.
This week we're going to talk about fame and, what it's like being famous. It's okay not being famous, but I think it's better to be famous. We'll talk about, how to get famous, I guess, about how people we know that are famous, people we know that want to be famous, how famous we feel, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the stupid ways that people can become famous for nothing, and and the uncomfortable idea of being famous or recognisable, and what's the difference? How recognisable do you have to be famous? I don't know. How famous is famous?
Special glasses. I mean, I cannot recognise a person's face until I've seen it for about 15 times. So, you probably do have to wear a stupid hat for me to remember you, unfortunately. But yeah, so fame. I don't want to be infamous. I want to be famous. Alan Partridge. Do you know any famous people? Apart from me, obviously. I'm very famous.
Apart from you. Well, it depends, I suppose. I know lots of famous people in certain circles.
Well.
I know UX famous people.
Well, there we go.
People who get adored, wow, you are a famous UXy person. I go, yeah, that's my mate.
Have you ever felt famous?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Not even with the
Trump thing?
Trump thing.
I don't think that's fame, is it?
No,
it's just a bit
coverage.
It's just
of coverage.
People going blah 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 retweet blah. I do have a blue tick though, so obviously I am famous.
Oh well, there you go. I mean, if there was any other validation needed, the blue tick is all it is. Do you have a Wikipedia page? I suppose that's the next one.
I don't know. If anyone wants to make me a Wikipedia page,
okay, right. Tell me about your immediate experiences, Ivanka. How's it going?
It's going okay, I think, this week. It's going well. The child has gone from swimming to now swimming underwater. It's a delight to see. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Eyes open?
Goggles.
Goggles, yeah.
Which she refused to put on for years. I've had for a couple of years. And she, get it off. Anyway, so that is a lot of fun. It's got very hot here. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday about how hard it is to grow things here because it's just hot and there's no water. So the garden's kind of going through a dormant stage. But I've got loads of tomatoes. And then the other thing I've been enjoying this week on the subject of self-improvement, iterative self-improvement, is my ongoing reading of things that are written by Black authors. I'm enjoying. So I'm now on my third novel.
Wow.
So
link in the description.
Links in the description. Links.
I've put them. To what Ivanka is reading.
To what I've done. Queenie, My Sister the Serial Killer, and I'm now doing Woman, Mother, Sister something. I can't remember the title. Sorry, but I'm enjoying this one rather a lot, and I downloaded something yesterday which I haven't started reading yet, which is I was trawling around in feminist literature land on Twitter, and a white woman recommended her book, and then she had a thread that included lots of books, and so I downloaded the one by the black woman. I thought I'll start with that experience first, and then I'll work back through the white feminists and see where that gets me.
Okay.
So yes, and I think that was partly. I'm telling a long story today. I'm usually like, yes, I'm fine. Here's one story. Bye. But the other thing that I did, Guilty Feminist tweeted a link to a Guardian article where a woman had said, I voted Trump and I feel like I've betrayed America, blah, blah, blah. And so I responded to this. And you read the article and first of all, you're like, it said, Trump is losing white college women, white college educated women. I'm like, how the hell is any woman, particularly an educated woman, ever voted for him in the first place? I really don't understand that. And
incredible. But
then I was thinking, you just got to feel sorry for them. That they think so little of themselves, that they think that anybody who is recorded talking about pussy grabbing is worth a vote.
Yeah.
That is worth respect as a human being, that is worth acknowledging in any way. I just feel very sorry for people who clearly something has happened to them. There's some sadness, some damage, some lack of being taught that they're worth something, that they're lovable, that they are, I don't know, I find it phenomenal.
They probably fell for the whole, I'm not sure about Hillary though. But her emails, that absolute non-parity bullshit that was so popular.
Unbelievable. And I do think it is in part a sense of self-love. So somebody has not helped you learn to love, just,
In the words of RuPaul, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love someone else?
Well, exactly. So, so I did that. I think that's what sent me off on my feminist literature exploration. But that said, my three novels by three black women authors have, I would say, fall in that category as well. They're quite cool, make you think. Yes, that's me. That's my current iterative personality development activity. How are you, Michael?
I've had a bit of a weird week, a rough week. Not sleeping that well, kind of feeling kind of overwhelmed a bit, and I think I'm sort of ready for a holiday. I'm fine, thanks. No, I'm going to tell you the truth. I think, I decided a couple of weeks ago I'm going to start, grinding for that sort of mortgage money properly and, saving properly. So one of the things was, okay, well, I guess I should really quit the gym because that's quite a lot of money if you, count it up over 5 years. And then, as I felt like that video was successful last week, I just kind of did this meditation and I started picturing my kind of dream home and I sort of drew it and I've got this really clear vision of what I want for the future now, which is, I sort of pictured this sort of big sort of open living room with a mezzanine level with lots of art stuff and then a grand piano there and then there's sofas and then that goes out onto the terrace and then in the next room I've got a soundproofed home theatre room that's also a music studio that I can section off and we can watch telly in there, or we can I can do some stuff and make as much noise as I want. We've got the guest rooms, I can have friends over and they can stay and we can do some music and we can stream it and there'll be a little toddler running around or whatever. And I've just been picturing this thing, but I think then I start looking at how much money I would have to save for this to happen and just getting absolutely depressed. And also at the same time, I'm feeling like I'm having to deny myself stuff as well. And I think this whole grinding plan is making me sad. And this whole trying to long-term plan is making me sad. And I don't know if it's an initial drop of mood or if it's going to just stay, So, that's where I am. Just I've got this dream crystallizing and then at the same time I'm sort of overwhelmed by how impossible it's starting to seem. It sort of seemed possible last week and this week, no. And I just saw my app numbers just 2 minutes ago and went, So, don't know. I know what happened to I just need enough money to live and I'll be happy. Of course you can't just stick with that, can you?
Well, where is this house? This vision house?
Ideally, London Bridge, But yeah, like it may be possible to. Trouble is, if it's not in a city, then the whole soundproof terrace stuff isn't really working. Because I looked at Liverpool yesterday. I thought maybe Liverpool would do it, but like they have some the fancy places there look out onto not very much, frankly. So I've been fantasizing about these penthousey places, but maybe it can be done some other way.
Why does the soundproof studio have to be in a city?
Well, otherwise, why does it need to be? If I'm just living in a mansion, why does it need to be soundproofed?
Well, birds are terribly noisy, Michael, as is wildlife in general. Wind is noisy.
Well, it's to keep the sound in more than to... Yeah, for sure, okay. Wind. It is annoying, like, there are a lot of roadworks and banging around me in this place, actually, I don't think. Anyway, yeah, that's me. Just on a bit of a ups and downs situation this week and just desperate for a break, but I don't want to, like, waste a break on playing video games for a month or whatever.
I think there's much could be discussed about this.
Well...
but...
Let's not. We did that last week.
Yeah.
Let's not indulge me anymore. Just told you how I was. Just leave it sat there on the table, making a little stink. How does it feel to be famous, Ivan?
Shut up.
I once saw a survey, like we've been talking about quizzes a bit on Facebook, and it's kind of like how your friends, which of you, it was one of those ones where you vote on which of your friends, and I did have like most famous was like I seemed to score well in that among my Facebook friends, and I thought I guess like compared to most people, I do have a vague profile of putting stuff out in public that I want people to see. I would like to be famous, to be honest. I've tried it. I liked the feeling of it back 20 God knows how many years ago when I was walking around a university campus getting recognised. I liked it. But it was famous. It was good famous. It was like really brilliant. I loved your band and congratulations for winning kind of thing. So I suppose like if you were infamous and people were like, F you, it wouldn't feel as good.
I don't know. I think there's something weird about even the idea of being famous. So because I'm living in a village at the moment, and very quickly, the 1,000-odd people who live in the village become at least recognisable to one another. Like everybody knows who everyone else is. And in some cases, that's one of the annoying things about living in a village, because you can't do things because everyone knows who you are. But then do you care that everyone knows who you are? Like, I don't know. It's a very odd, you're sort of putting yourself up there as soon as everyone knows who you are, which is blah, blah. Okay. Sorry, I'm not making any sense. I find it very odd, the concept of fame. I think in part because in the 2 villages I've lived in my life, everyone's known who we are because we've been weird and arrived from the side. Like when we were in Herzegovina, I was that girl, that English girl, that one whose mum's English. So I couldn't go anywhere or do anything. It would be reported back instantly to my parents. Luckily, I didn't hide things from them, so we were cool. But it could have been quite stifling, let me tell you. And then, so I don't really like I'm much more of an incognito traveller, which I find quite conflicting, because I do want people to read some of, hear some of the things that I have, as my daughter would put it. But I'm not making music or painting pictures or acting in a movie. I don't really want you to look at me. I want you to look at maybe something I've written, or maybe I don't even want to do that. I don't want to do it enough to write things down and put them on a blog.
I don't know. I kind of want special treatment. So I like getting special treatment, and I think that's, when you're from a family of 7 children and you're never allowed special treatment, it kind of leaves you wanting special treatment all the time. Special. And one way to get that is for people to be like, oh, hello, Mr. Forrest. Yes, we have a table for you in the back. I think I'd enjoy that.
But can't you get that through just loyalty?
Maybe. One moment I did, one breakthrough I did have with this was that I was at some club and I was just being I don't know, I was on kind of I was in a good mood because I just finished a video, done well, and I think I was behaving like someone, and then I was someone, and to the point that someone was like, who are you? And I was sort of, they sort of had deduced that I must be famous from my kind of I guess swagger. And I was like, well, I mean, that's most people, there's so many famous people that you ask someone about and they haven't heard of them, that probably if you can get to that level of having the famous person confidence, then that's almost enough. You don't actually have to have millions of people know who you are at all. That for me was okay, well that'll probably do.
But that's kind of what I mean as well about the sort of walking into a restaurant and asking for a table. There are different ways of walking in that I'd say I have observed or even experimented with. It's hi, be incredibly gracious and polite. So there's kind of a, how do you get, if you want special treatment, how do you get special treatment, and what sort of special treatment do you want?
Yeah.
And what can you do to get that, if that's how you feel? Or the sort of reputational fame, isn't there?
Yeah.
That sort of...
You want to be... and I think there's something about people you respecting you and having heard of you. That it's just that's important to me. That's what I want. But then, the trouble is, the people that I look up to, I sort of managed to get some version of that respect. Met my heroes. They sort of like what I do enough. They're kind of complimentary about what I do, and I'm okay. They're sort of prepared to retweet something I've done, and then it just becomes that they're not actually that famous to most people, so it doesn't really help me get anywhere that they like me, so never mind. Until I start really loving Ed Sheeran or someone, then I guess this is the level I'm at, which is fine.
But well, so there's reputation. I think that's, but then there's that doesn't get me anywhere. It's where
I don't
do you want to get to?
I don't know.
And I think this is a key difference between me and you. There's something about making music. So I believe, I think I know it to be reasonably true that I have a decent reputation as a user researcher. So in a circle of other experts, I am recognised and accepted as an expert. And I like that, and I want to maintain that. And in many ways, it is kind of a self-feeding thing, where because there's a desire to maintain the reputation, so therefore I have to keep learning, and therefore I have to stay on top of my game and all those kind of things. So I that is cool, but that's reputation. It's kind of professional reputation. So I'm not sure it has it's no kind of fame. But then I've got friends like you, and I've got a friend who's a comedian, and if you want people to hear your music, and if you want to make people laugh, you don't necessarily, you can make people laugh without being famous, but you can't really make a living at making people laugh unless you have volume.
But also what you can't get if you don't have a certain number of people that know who you are is a decent room full of enough people that when you do something, they go, hey, or they go, ha, ha, ha. It's just whenever you do anything, you've got a few of your friends and maybe a couple of bystanders. It's just it's kind of miserable, because one of the whole reasons of amplifying what you're doing over big loud speakers is to be able to kind of connect with lots more people. And if you just feel I could have just done this at home, and it's so much energy that you have to put into you don't playing a gig is so much work, so much preparation, so much getting there, setting up, nerves, fear, all the stuff that goes into a performance is absolutely like, it's stressful, it's exhausting, it's really intense. And then you do and it's the same amount of work, more or less. I mean, obviously, when you get to the thousands of people looking at you, it becomes like probably it gets a bit more stressful. But like, it's just really, you kind of want at least there to be enough people to make it worth the effort. And that's then you're like, oh, I just need to be more famous. You know, it sort of becomes a means to just not sort of feeling like it's worthwhile putting a lot of effort into something.
So there's something about reach, like I was saying, the sort of comedian, the gig, you can't. It simply doesn't work at a really small, or it works so much better at large scale. You know, it's sort of, the more people are laughing around you, the more you're going to laugh. The more people are dancing around you, the more you're going to enjoy the vibe. There's no doubt about it. You can have a lot of fun dancing in your living room, but if you're at a gig or in a club where there's loads of other people and all that energy, it's a better time.
But that's also not to say that more is always better. Like I just wanted like 50 to 100 people in the room. Maybe like 1,000 would be good. But like actually, I wouldn't. Stadium rock is a whole different thing. Like being one of those comedians that can like fill a stadium. That's a different kind of thing. And I think a lot of like artists would rather just sort of like do the medium-sized venues and sort of like where it does feel a bit more intimate and a bit like you can actually kind of see what's going on. I think there's a sweet spot. It's not as simple as more is better, but yeah, that's just a caveat, I suppose, to that. But yeah, like not any is miserable. Yeah. If you're liking this podcast, you could tell someone about it that has a voice, has a platform, can tell other people about it, or maybe you've got a platform, you could tell people about it. Just tweet it, just say, hey, look, grandpodcast.com, have a listen, I'm enjoying it. Have you got any wellness centres to promote, Ivanka?
Yes, I do. The Brighton Natural Health Centre.org.uk is open for business and in need of people to attend classes. We're ready and waiting is, I think, the main message.
In person primarily or online as well?
We're Zooming and onlining at the moment. So you can, no matter where you are, you can participate. And yeah, that's nice.
Okay. I'm sick of talking about goodtohear.co.uk/free, where you can get my free ebook Tracking Happiness and sign up to my mailing list. So I'm going to say, if you like the music on this podcast, why don't you just buy an album of mine? If you go to michaelforrestmusic.com, it's all linked there. Releases, buy something on Bandcamp, support me on Patreon, make me feel good about making the music. That would be lovely. And now back to the episode.
So there's a sort of professional reputation. So I don't need volume. I don't need thousands of adoring people in a room. I need to be able to reach 2 or 3 influential people who can commission some work. It's a different. I need, so sort of from a professional, and we're talking about the music Michael at the moment, I think, rather than the app Michael. Yeah. But then you've got people who just want to be famous and they've got nothing there's no thing that they do. God rest her soul, as they say, but Jade Goody is my prime example. Like that person who goes onto Big Brother, who becomes famous for not knowing anything. And I think that is just weird.
Well, and I have this as a question, why do people? I've got this question: why do people love buffoons, like Boris Johnson, like Trump? Like people love someone who's a bit. I don't know if it's. I think it's about vulnerability, and I think it's about being able to identify that someone is stupid, just like me. So I like them. And there's something about someone who sort of feels too.
I don't think anyone says just like me.
Well, someone. I don't know. But someone who feels like. I think people are distrustful if someone seems too untouchable. maybe
Yeah.
too kind of like
maybe.
perfect or too like invincible. I think people just start trying to find the chinks. Once you do start to get a bit of a profile, people do start coming for you. And I did sort of have a feeling of that, like in London, when I was sort of like doing a lot of shows like in Camden. And as a sort of segue, I don't know where this fits, but like my brother has done really well as a beatboxer, and he's he went on tour, he did all the things, but he had the like we were in a pub and someone came up to him and went, "Oh, I loved you at that thing," and that's kind of like you kind of want that. And he went, "Yeah, it's even better if you're walking up the street with a girl and someone comes up to you and goes, 'Oh, I really loved what you were doing there.'" Like I do, you want like once in a while for someone to recognise you and give you a compliment and go. But I did, and so he's sort of probably him and my dad. I don't know. My dad's been on TV a lot now as a paleontologist, so he's found his fame in his sort of niche. But my brother was someone I rang up when things were going relatively well, because I started to feel like people were coming for me, and like I sort of asked him, like, what do you do when people start trying to like take you down? Like, how do you because people will, like, there's no way you can stick your head up too high without getting, without someone taking issue with it. Now, the problem with this story is that I can't remember what he actually told me. He was just like, yeah, it's a
Maybe that's all you needed.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If you do stand out, people will attack you. If you stand out for good or bad, it doesn't really matter. You're going to get attacked. Because, what you were saying about the recognizing the sort of vulnerability, if you seem untouchable, people will try and go after you. If you seem like that's the bad bit of some humans, rather than going, "Oh my gosh, isn't it amazing, they're doing so well with their music, yay, I'll share and like and subscribe.
And I had to say to myself and realize, like, someone's always gonna not like my singing, even if I was really brilliant. That's like by my own standards. Like, someone's always not going to like it. So I think I just need to accept that and just put stuff out there and see what happens. But it took me a long time to be prepared to sort of have that level of vulnerability in what I was putting out. I remember the first time I put a track that just even had some really, really processed vocals on it, and just sitting in a room and like hearing like it being playing was like freaking me out, because that vulnerability is terrifying. But it's also like I forced myself to do it, because there's no way you can connect with enough people if you aren't vulnerable, if you're not kind of pushing that envelope, I don't think.
But I also think that there's I don't really want to be seen. I want people to see the things that I do. But I think that's the weird thing about, like, why record a podcast then?
Yeah, like, I don't know. But actually, and then that's been a thing like this week. Some of the advice I had on marketing and some of the stuff that someone I was talking to did feel was successful was the way that I did put my story out there. I've got my kind of story about my mother on the website as part of a free, like, why would you listen to me? There's a link. You can kind of read about my sad childhood, which, I've never really wanted. I've never found, I don't know. I found a place that it belongs if people, want to hear about that. But, and then putting that video out where I'm talking about myself, which the first draft of that video, I didn't have that. And then Sharon was like, "Oh, you should put some of your story in there." And I put it in, and that, I think that like helps people connect. I think like people, if you just, and I hear this about like promoting your game, like lots of people want to like pretend they're a company and put the company logo on and like release this game. But even though there's like one person working on it or two people working on it, so just put your name on it and like put your face on it. Like, people don't like, "Oh, but it seems more." I think there's a sort of safety or like a legitimacy that seems to come from pretending you're like some corporate entity. Yeah. But the vulnerability, I think that comes back to, like, people are going to like what you do if they kind of know who you are and that you're a person, and that, like, that's. So I think to become famous, I think your work. It's hard for your work to become famous without you being like associated with that on some level and revealing something about yourself.
I think there's a couple of things about it. Like, one of the changes we've done on Restaurants Brighton this week, we haven't started promoting it yet, is that when Nick set it up, because it was just Nick, like for a couple of years, beavering away and doing marketing consultancy and stuff, he made it look like a big organisation, because then he could sell to big organisations and he could ask for them for money and all those things. And one of the things we've just spent the last week doing is rewriting all our Meet the Team pages. So it's like, no, we are just Brighton, and there were only 4 of us, and this is who we are, and these are the other freelancers we work with, and this is what we like to do when we're not doing Restaurants Brighton, because we actually need you to recognise that we're a local business.
Yeah.
And we need some of that local business support, because while you look like a big corporate entity, people are far more inclined to attack you. Well, I mean, in our case, they don't really attack us so much as just like ignore you.
Yeah.
Like, they'd rather write a review on TripAdvisor than on Restaurants Brighton. And this is the same town that will bang on about its independence. Yeah. It's like, well, please write a review on my website, motherfuckers. So.
There was a time a few months ago where I was like starting to get really sick of like the area we're in. I was starting to be like, I really miss living somewhere a bit more cool, because we're like sort of Queen's Park, Harrow Road. And then we were walking up through Queen's Park and we were in the Co-op, and then suddenly sort of Sharon was like, is that David Harbour? And like, so basically, and we've seen him a couple of times, like David Harbour, fiance of Lily Allen, is just like wandering around the shops near us. We saw him going to a coffee shop, and it's like, it's the guy from Stranger Things, who we really like. And it just really like cheered me up about where we live. It sort of made it feel like a place instead of like nowhere. And just because it was someone famous who I think we'd even recently like looked at him, like watched some video inside celebrities' homes on YouTube or something. And we'd watched him taking us through his flat. It was like, hey, it's him. So,
do you want to know my devastating celebrity example for Sutivan on the island of Branch?
Do it.
Imagine of all the figures in the world, the recognisable world figures that have been here on holiday, and there is a video to prove it.
Yeah.
The person that has been here is Boris Johnson.
Oh no. You lose.
Everyone's like, oh, Boris Johnson comes here on holiday. Oh. It's like, do you think that makes me happy?
Well, maybe you'll get a chance to corner him.
Oh, don't know, I haven't seen him. They tell this story like he comes all the time, but I've not seen him, thankfully. But I mean, if I did see him... No, it wasn't that far ago, but yes, I think if I did see him, I think I might be a little braver than I think, but there's something cool about celebrity. So your story is a much cooler story, but there's something so nice about, I don't know why it is, but it makes you excited. I saw Paul McCartney on Church Road in Hove going into Cullen's some years ago. I was like, oh, Paul McCartney. But it's like, of course you're excited. Yeah. What's wrong? I like to think that there's a few people in the world who get very excited when they see me. It's just not loads of them. My friends, my family, my sister most of the time when she's not off me. It's that kind of...
That's what was it. Should we talk about like reactions to famous people? I'm sure I've told my Hugh Laurie, seeing Hugh Laurie, just eye contact, weird, like, he's like, yeah, it's me. And I'm like, I actually kind of have a man crush on you, and watched loads of House or whatever it is. What's his show? And sort of was like, I kind of wish I was Hugh Laurie. And then I saw him in person. It was like, ooh. But it was just like one of those moments. And you just like, and like, I think like Flight of the Conchords, I saw, I talked about that as well, didn't I? Like, I saw them, I managed to like see them backstage, but that like not wanting to like and we talked about this definitely, but like not wanting to seem uncool when you meet someone famous. It's like, because even at David Harbour, like he was crossing a zebra crossing near us, and like I was just like, I wanted to catch the green man and kind of get across. I mixed my crossings there. I think it was a green man, but we'd seen him in the distance and was like, is that David again? And then,
is that David, my friend David?
Is that Dave? So then we sort of like we're running to sort of catch the light, but then like as we got closer, I was like turned to Sharon and go, oh, it is him. And then I realised like I'm sort of maybe within earshot, and then I'm like, oh, this is so awkward now. Like we weren't running after you, we were just trying to get the lights, but then we were talking about you, and then we did follow him. So it's like, Sharon was like, can we follow him? I'm like, okay. So we was like, well, we just wanted to know where he was going. And it's just like, but it's really hard, isn't it? Sharon likes following celebrities. Like, I think she saw like Noel Gallagher in Marylebone at some point, and just went, sort of saw which shops he was going into. Yeah, it's like, yeah, they're so fascinating.
But I think this is just nosiness, natural human nosiness. If you live in a village, you do go, you'll never guess who I saw today. In the shop she was. Didn't expect to see her in that shop. I thought she goes to that shop. And do you know what? The other day, so-and-so, they weren't having a coffee in that cafe. They were having it in the other cafe. Oh, controvert. Oh. I mean, this is
maybe
village
that's
life.
The death of the local existence is like, so we need the famous people are the only ways we get to have gossip about people.
Gossip.
And make a story. Oh, do you know who I saw today? What? It's
exactly.
Immediately an interesting story. Like, what was he doing?
Can't believe
what was she doing?
What they were wearing. Do you know what I saw her buy?
It's like nothing. It would if it was anyone else. Who gives a shit? But like, I've got a lot of beeping for myself this week, but I just don't have the energy to not swear.
Maybe you'll have to just send an apology to Auntie Annette. It's just, it's gossip and nosiness and human curiosity and stories. What else are you going to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, have we got any noble conclusions for this episode, or is it just? Have we got anything useful to add?
The word we have not mentioned is ego.
Right.
And I think ego is an important element of this.
Okay.
The boy walking down the road with a girl and having somebody else go, oh, are you the guy of the telly? Or whatever. I heard you do that beatboxing. I could totally get that. I want, but that, that's just... I think it's ego, and it's an input, not necessarily bad ego. It's just sense of self. Look at me. I'm showing up.
Yeah, who doesn't love a bloody ego boost? No one. But also, you feel like you don't feel like you're kind of like scrabbling for anything. You feel like, I exist. I am a solid flesh and blood thing that exists in this world and matters on some level. And that is just, who doesn't want that feeling?
Yeah, I think that is totally. I mean, that on the 15 seconds of Twitter fame, one of the replies that most made me proud was a reply from somebody ahead, like older than me career-wise, somebody that I respect enormously, who replied, "I'm honoured to know you." And I was like, that's it, my work here is done. It wasn't like that. It was more like, it just made me feel good. And I think, if anything, and just to make it touchy-feely, lovey, cuddly at the end, is that it's what we have to remember to also recognise each other. It is cool to say to your friend, you made me laugh. I loved that tune. My daughter couldn't stop dancing. I loved what you did there. It's so nice to see you. What have you bought in the shop? Conclusion,
let's treat our friends like we would treat a famous person.
Just without the fish mouth things.
Fish mouth.
There's I don't know.
Oh God! Did I say that? I mean, but I get that social anxiety about it. Like, I don't. Do. You speak to someone and you're feeling confident, and then 10 seconds after you've said goodbye, you're like, "Oh, I ruined that at the end. I said the wrong thing at the end. Oh no, they're thinking this about me now." God, that feeling. But yes, let's treat our friends like we would treat famous people. Apart from
I see
famous
you.
people we like, say, I really like what you did there. If you like the podcast, go to grandpodcast.com, get subscribed one way or another, email us, subscribe to our Patreon, get on the Slack channel, join in. Where can people find you, Ivanka?
People can find me at Ivanka on Twitter.
And what are your Twitter hours?
I have no idea. It depends on the day. They are They're definitely not at central CET night time. I'll tell you that for note.
You can find me on Twitter at Michael Forrest between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock on Tuesdays. And I just got an email in my inbox and it says, "Dear Michael, thanks for the email. I'm not sure if you really monitor this or if it's a bot, but I'll assume you do. I do monitor it and it is a bot. I really love the app. I've never done any mindfulness, talking about my feelings or anything, so this is all new to me. The app was recommended by Jerry, and has been a bit of a lifesaver and eye-opener. Trapped at home with a 13-week-old baby during a pandemic hasn't been great. Anyway, thanks a lot. It's brilliant." So there you go. goodtohear.co.uk/free. A little bit of an ego boost for me there, brilliant. As discussed. And thanks to Jerry.
But I would say one other thing. You can cut this out or not. I don't really care. This at the end. But like sending thank yous.
Oh yeah.
Massively important.
Right.
Hi, I love your product. I love that work you did. I love that thing you did. It's such a massive thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
thank you messages. So easy now. Messages. All you've got to do is say thanks for coming. Yeah. It's all good.
So anyway, thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye. Enjoy the sunshine. Bye.